Most people have eaten steak their whole life and still don't know what they're actually eating. There are over 20 different cuts of steak. Each one tastes different, each one cooks different, and some of them have secrets that will completely change how you think about beef. Let's go through all of them right now. Number 1. The ribeye. This is the most famous steak in the world, and the reason is simple. This cut has fat running directly through the meat. Not on the side, not on top, through the middle of the meat itself. When this fat heats up, it melts and soaks into every part of the steak from the inside. The result is a steak that is rich, juicy, and packed with flavor without needing any sauce at all. High heat, hot pan, dark crust on the outside, soft and juicy on the inside. This is why people call it the king of steaks. Number 2, the New York strip. This cut has a thick layer of fat running along one edge of the steak. As it cooks, that fat slowly melts and adds flavor to the meat without making it too soft. The inside stays firm and gives you a strong, satisfying chew with a deep, classic beef flavor. It is not as rich as the ribeye and not as soft as the filet. It sits right in the middle, which is exactly why it has been the most popular steak in American restaurants for over 100 years. Number 3, the filet mignon. This is the softest steak that exists. It comes from a muscle called the tenderloin, a muscle the cow almost never uses. Because this muscle does no work, the meat fibers stay extremely fine and delicate. The result is a steak so soft that it melts in your mouth like butter. But there is a trade-off. No work means no fat means less flavor. Filet mignon is all about texture. If you want the softest bite possible, this is your cut. Number 4, the T-bone. This steak has a T-shaped bone running through the middle with 2 different cuts attached to it. On one side, you get strip steak, firm, beefy, and full of chew. On the other side, you get a piece of tenderloin, soft, light, and buttery. 2 completely different textures on one single plate. The bone also holds heat during cooking, which keeps both sides juicier. 1 steak, 2 experiences, 0 compromises. Number 5, the Porterhouse. This looks exactly like the T-bone, but it is cut from further back, where the tenderloin section is much bigger. So instead of a small piece of soft meat on one side, you get a full, thick filet mignon next to a full strip steak, all attached to the same bone. This steak is so large, it is designed to feed 2 people. In Italy, this cut has been cooked over hot coals for hundreds of years. They call it bistecca alla fiorentina, and they slice it at the table before serving. Number 6, the sirloin. This cut comes from near the hip of the cow, a part that moves a lot. All that movement makes the meat leaner and firmer than premium cuts, less fat, more bite. But that extra work also gives sirloin a strong, honest beef flavor that many people love. It costs much less than ribeye or filet, cooks well on a grill or in a pan, and tastes like real classic beef. This is the steak most people cook at home, and it never lets you down. Number 7, the flat iron. For decades, this cut was thrown away. It comes from the shoulder, a hard-working muscle, and it was considered too tough to eat as a steak. Then, scientists discovered that removing 1 single strip of tough tissue from the middle of the muscle left behind a steak that was surprisingly tender, well-marbled, and full of flavor. It went from being ground beef filler to one of the best value steaks you can buy. Strong taste, good texture, and a fraction of the price of premium cuts. Number 8, the flank steak. This cut is long, flat, and lean. With muscle fibers you can clearly see running in one direction across the whole surface. The flavor is strong and beefy, but the texture depends entirely on how you slice it. You must always cut against those fibers, meaning you cut across them, not along them. This shortens the fibers and makes every bite tender instead of tough. Cook it fast over high heat, never past medium. Slice it against the grain, and this steak becomes one of the most flavorful cuts on the whole list. Number 9, the skirt steak. This cut also comes from the belly area but has a looser, more open texture than flank. That open texture means marinades soak in very fast, sometimes in just 15 minutes. When skirt steak hits a very hot pan, it builds one of the darkest and most flavorful crusts of any steak on this list. The taste is bold and intense, but the timing must be right. Overcook it by even 30 seconds and it becomes chewy and tough. Cook it fast, rest it, slice it thin, and it is absolutely incredible. Number 10. The hanger steak. For years, many butchers would quietly set this cut aside before customers ever saw it, not because it was expensive, but because they knew how good it was. Unlike many popular steaks, there is only one hanger steak per animal, which naturally limits the supply. Its texture sits somewhere between a tenderloin and a strip steak, while the flavor is often described as richer and more intense than both. Even today, it remains harder to find than most steaks, which only adds to its reputation among serious steak lovers and professional chefs alike. This is the steak most people have never heard of, and there is a very good reason for that. The hanger steak hangs from the diaphragm between the rib and loin, and there is only one per animal. For most of history, butchers kept this cut for themselves and never sold it. They called it the butcher's secret. It has a deep, rich, mineral flavor unlike any other steak on this list. Soft in texture, intense in taste, and still rare enough today that when you see it on a menu, you order it without thinking twice. Number 11. The Tomahawk. This is a ribeye steak with a very long rib bone still attached, sometimes up to 45 centimeters long. Same fat, same marbling, same rich flavor as a regular ribeye, but cut much thicker and presented with the full bone for a dramatic look. Because it is so thick, you cannot just grill it directly. You sear the outside first to build a crust, then cook it slowly with indirect heat until the center reaches the right temperature. It weighs over 1 kilogram. It is meant to be shared, and when it arrives at the table, everyone in the room looks over. Number 12. The Picanha. This cut is a national obsession in Brazil, and it is one of the most misunderstood steaks in the rest of the world. Picanha comes from the top of the rump and has a thick fat cap on one side. In Brazil, they cut it into thick strips, skewer it with the fat facing outward, and grill it over open fire. As it cooks, that fat melts and continuously drips down, basting the lean meat below with flavor the whole time. The outside becomes dark and charred. The inside stays pink and juicy. Most restaurants outside Brazil remove the fat cap before cooking. That is the wrong way to do it. The fat is where all the flavor comes from. Every single cut on this list has its own flavor, its own texture, and its own story. You know what makes each one different. Which steak have you never tried? Leave it in the comments below and subscribe right now because the next video covers exactly what each of these steaks does to your body after you eat them. In Brazilian steakhouses, picanha is often cooked and served in multiple rounds rather than all at once. The outer layer is sliced off and served while the rest continues cooking over the fire. This creates a constant cycle of fresh, hot meat arriving at the table. It's one of the reasons picanha became the signature steak of Brazilian barbecue culture.